We got Texas versus Washington in the Sugar Bowl. And this is the game that I'm the most excited to watch because you look at Texas, they are the most complete team in the playoffs this year. They got a great defense. They got a great offense. And unlike Michigan and Alabama, they can beat you any kind of way. They can beat you with the ground and pound. They can beat you airing the football out. And with how great their defense is, they're really good at taking away the run game, and they don't really give up a lot of big plays in the passing game. This is a truly complete team. You look at Washington, they're a team that offensively, they can throw the football at will against anybody they play up against because they got 3 NFL caliber wide receivers. We saw what Polk and the Dunes they were doing to Oregon secondary. And you look at how good their offensive line is as well. I think that Washington's offensive line is really underrated. And Washington, I think a misconception about Washington is that they can't run the football. When you look at their rushing numbers statistically, not really that great. But it's not that they can't run the football. It's just that they don't need to run the football. But when they want to run the football, they can. But against the Texas defense, are they going to be able to have the luxury of being able to do that? And another thing that I've noticed about Washington is that, in the Pac-12 championship game, they got out to a fast start. That's one of the few games that I've seen Washington play this season when they came out the gates guns blazing. Normally when Washington plays, they are a team that gets better as the game goes on. Michael Penix, he was hot to start off that Pac-12 title. But in other games, such as Oregon State, he started off hella slow. You can't afford to get out to a slow start against this Texas team. They're way too good for you to be able to come from behind. You got to be able to keep pace with this team. Texas, in my opinion, is the most deepest team out of any team in the playoffs this year. They're so loaded at wide receiver. You got A.D. Mitchell, Isaiah Nayer. Now, their best receiver in Xavier Worthy, he got injured in the Big 12 championship, so we don't really know what his status is going to be for this game. But even if he isn't able to play, I don't really think it's a huge loss because how talented and deep they are at that receiver position. They're also deep at running back. They lost their RB1. And they still had success running the football against Oklahoma State. Washington's defense has played really well over the last couple of weeks, especially when you look at how well they performed against Oregon. But against Texas, though, they got a great offensive line. You're also going to get great quarterback play out of Quinn Ewers. But the same issue that I have with Michael Penix, I kind of have with Quinn Ewers. At times, he can start games out a little bit slow, and he can be a streaky player. And that's kind of when Texas has gotten themselves into holes, when Quinn Ewers has been streaky. He's had some turnover problems at times. But when he's playing his best football, this is a tough offense to stop. And Steve Sarkisian is one of the best play callers in college football. But Washington, their offensive coordinator, is also a really good play caller as well. And offensively, both of these teams, to me, look like they're evenly matched. Outside of the fact that maybe Texas is way better running the football than what Washington is, they both are really talented at wide receiver. They got really talented quarterbacks and really good play callers. Defensively, Texas has the advantage. But is this Texas defense going to be able to slow down this Washington passing attack? The only time Washington has been slowed down throwing the football has been when they've gotten out the slow starts. Whether that be them coming out a little bit slow, not being dialed in completely, or if it be the weather conditions. But in a game like this, you start out slow against Texas, you could find yourself in a 21-7 hole and having a hard time crawling your way out of it. Even though Washington's defense has played really well, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up that same level of play against a team like Texas. They really are going to need their offense to be able to go point for point with Texas. This is one of those games that could be a shootout. You remember a while back when we got that Oklahoma-Georgia semifinal matchup and Oklahoma got out big and then Georgia came from behind and won that game with Jake Fromm? This game could probably go the same way that game went. But if you were to ask me who's a team that has the smallest margin for error, I got to go with Washington. Texas is just a more complete team. Their defense is really solid top to bottom. Washington, their defensive line played really well against Oregon, and it surprised a lot of people. but they don't have insane talent on the defensive line. They got a few NFL guys on that defensive line, but compared to Texas, they got a lot of guys on that front seven who are probably going to be playing on Sunday. Meanwhile, you look at Washington, they may have 2 or 3. So I think for Washington, it's really important that they can get out to a fast start, like how they did against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, because Texas is one of the last teams that you want to face off where you have to come from behind against them. Because when this team is on, they're on.